Hello, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I hope you're all doing well today, and I've got a reading for you on the topic of love. As I mentioned in yesterday's reading, love is in the air, and I really enjoy, you might even say I love doing these love readings. So hopefully this gives you a little guidance on a situation you're dealing with. So let's pull one card to figure out kind of where you're at in your love life. Okay, the Page of Cups. Okay, so I get the sense of like this newness and this kind of youth and vitality. And it almost feels like there's something entering your life very soon and it's arriving soon. Or maybe it has just happened, but I feel like there is something new brewing. And if this relates to a relationship that you're already in, then maybe it's just something new emerging in this relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to be a new person, but I might speak in terms of there being a new person emerging because I feel like that just makes a little bit more sense for this context. All right, let's draw one card to represent you. Okay, the Page of Swords. Okay, another like youthful and kind of vibrant energy and this feeling of like being in an expansive field and just, yeah, like really feeling like you are in your own domain. So I feel like you're someone who has kind of seen that the world is stretching out in front of you, or maybe if previously you felt limited to a certain pattern of relationships, a certain type of person, or a certain way of receiving love. I feel like that's something you're releasing recently or you've just released, where it's like you understand now that there are limitless opportunities for you in a way, and almost that this is like breaking new ground as well, where I think the next relationship that you have is going to be unlike anyone that you've had previously, and it's going to break new ground in this way of just being something you never could have imagined. All right, let's draw one card to represent this other person. Ooh, the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, I think this is really relating to it. It's almost like maybe there's not even a specific person in this context. It's almost like the Wheel of Fortune is bringing you opportunities, and maybe they present in the form of a person. But it's almost more like I think the wheel is kind of spinning right now. Almost this feeling of recalibration is what I'm getting, where maybe you went through a recent trial in love, or maybe just in your personal life in general, that kind of recalibrated opportunities for you. Or maybe you had been working in a specific pattern before, and I feel like now the outcome of this trial, which I believe that you succeeded. Hopefully you succeeded. Even if you failed the trial, well, hopefully not. But the outcome of this trial is that now things are going to shift for you. I think because you responded in such a way that you're attracting in a different type of energy than what you had previously. And again, it is this feeling of like opening it up, where I feel like you had been stuck in a certain pattern because maybe you had received this trial multiple times, in fact. I think actually the sense I'm getting is you did pass this most recent trial. In fact, you had received it many times, and in the past you had failed several times. But this most recent passing of the trial has opened up a whole new opportunity for you, in that you're not going to be presented the same trial. So I think you're not going to be presented the same types of people that you've been meeting in romance, especially if these have been disappointing to you or not worked out in some way. I feel like now there's this feeling of just, yeah, like an infinite opportunity, and something's coming your way. All right, we have the Page of Wands. Oh my gosh, a third page? This is crazy. Again, this is the page is this feeling of it's kind of like an assistant and also receiving a message in some way. So I feel like there's going to be someone in your life who's maybe helping you in some way, and almost maybe that this romance could be like in order to help you in a way, and it could be like a mutual feeling of help, where maybe there's something springing up that is just, yeah, like a new way of being in love, where instead of feeling like it's like a battle, it's almost more like you're each other's assistants, where you're just trying to help each other out. And there could also be a new message coming in for you, and this could like relate to like a physical message, like maybe you're gonna get messaged on a social media platform soon, or it could be more like a message that's emerging between two people, where I think if you already have an established connection with this person, it could almost be like this message that's emerging is something that neither one of you had ever like had a conversation about before, and it feels like something entirely new. Like maybe you didn't think that this person could feel these things or act this way, or that you yourself could deliver this message, but I feel like it's like a whole new opportunity for, yeah, something new. All Right, and again, we have the Six of Swords here. This is again feeling of like moving on, moving to new shores, where I feel like if you were clinging to something in the past, especially when it relates to romance, is this being able to leave it behind. Understand that the past is the past. Things that happened in the past also don't necessarily define you, and I think that's what keeps you stuck in these cycles. Is like this feeling of, because I've done this so many times before, the next thing is going to go the exact same as this. But it's now this feeling of like packing up what is most important to you, and in this case it is the family, and it's this feeling of just like understanding that in this life what we really hold dearest and what really influences our life the most are the people who we keep as our chosen family. And I feel like this is something that's really key in your feeling of romance now. It's like maybe you felt like previously you were kind of tied down to a specific location, a specific job, or a specific way of being in the world, and that all your romance opportunities almost have to be a compromise on this, of like you're always having to give something up in order to be in a romantic relationship with someone else. But now I think I'm getting the sense where it's like you understand that when it comes to this really true emotional bond, that you are desiring in the future, it's this feeling of like you could almost pack up and move anywhere, or you could be in any situation and it would still be enjoyable because this is the person that's most important to you. So this feeling of almost like you could be in any material conditions, but that this love is going to be something that will provide value to your life and just embolden you to face these new situations. Alright, so we have the Four of Wands. So I feel like this is a feeling of, celebration, and like there's like a male and a female figure in the center of the card, so it almost feels like it could be their wedding. Maybe a wedding is in the cards for you, I don't know, but I feel like there's this feeling of coming together and celebration and coming together. Like I mentioned, I think you're releasing this adversarial quality that you might have had in romance before, where maybe whether it came to long-term relationships or even in dating, it almost felt like this battle in a way of trying to work things out between two people, this feeling of conflict, or that there was something to argue about. But I think in your next romantic endeavors, or maybe in the relationship you're already in that is evolving into a new state, is this feeling of being at peace and working together and being able to celebrate each other. So I feel like maybe in the past you had these relationships where it felt like there was some degree of criticism, and it could have been coming from either sides, or more likely from both sides. Or maybe one person's criticism was a response to the other person's criticism, where it almost felt like there was this feeling of like trying to improve each other, but doing this in a way that was like a little bit mistaken, by nitpicking people's flaws or what one perceives to be flaws. Whereas I feel like now you're moving into a state in romance where you understand that it is the celebration of people's blessings and uniqueness and individuality is actually what brings them more empowerment in their life. So instead of tearing people's flaws apart, it's more like this feeling of just celebrating someone for who they are. So I feel like this next stage in your love life is going to be something that is really lacking that critical edge that you might have suffered in the past. And it is really going to be a celebration of who you are as a person and the unique way of loving that you bring to the world. And I feel like if you've felt like maybe you're lacking something in love before, maybe you felt like it was almost hopeless for you, there was kind of this feeling of, I love in this really specific way that no one else could ever understand. But really the message I'm getting is that there is someone else in the world who loves the same way that you do, right? Like if you love in a certain way, that is evidence that other people can love in this way as well. And so that is just out there waiting for you in a sense, right? Like I think if you have this feeling of, I kind of want this fairy tale romance, right? Where I'm swept off my feet and it really has this like, again, like romantic quality to it, but you always felt like you had to compromise. And or maybe it was like the other way as well. Like if you were like, I want to be a Prince Charming and really sweep someone off their feet. Maybe it felt like, I always have to compromise where, like, I'm going out and chasing people and none of them are really acting the way that I want. And it's like, this is the act of compromise is what's holding you back from this actual true romantic experience. And I think that when you allow yourself to fall into that romantic experience and accept the fact that if there is this desire in you to have this side of the romantic experience, there is certainly someone on the other side who's feeling the exact same way, and that they are out there for you. So it's kind of this acceptance of like the fact that love isn't something that you can really chase, but it's more like something that emerges naturally, and it's something that is coming to you if that is what you want. If you want to go out and chase people, then that is what you can do. And if you would like to be seduced and romanced, I think that will be possible for you. And especially with this feeling of all these pages coming out, like I feel like there is really this feeling of someone who wants to be by your side almost. Like maybe in the past, if you felt like you almost had to win people over in this way of like, I need to provide a certain value so that people will keep me around, I feel like this next stage in your romantic endeavors is this feeling of someone who just wants to be by your side all the time. And it's almost like, again, yeah, this feeling of like, even if you didn't have anything materially, they would still want to be with you just because of your presence and this joy of being around you. And I think likewise, you're going to feel the same towards this person. The Sun. Okay, so another card of like newness, freshness, innocence, and optimism, of course. And it's this feeling of light shining, maybe in places where it hadn't previously. So maybe if you almost have this kind of shadowy side to your perception of love or the concept of love, I feel like this is shining a new light into things that you hadn't considered previously. Where, like, again, like I mentioned, if you have this really pessimistic demeanor about the concept of love, of that it's never going to work out for you and there's always going to be a lot of compromise involved, I feel like this is bringing new light to that, in the sense that these were mistaken convictions, and that there is some sort of blessing in the world for you, and you just couldn't see it because it hadn't been illuminated yet. But I feel like this next stage in your romantic endeavors is this feeling of something being illuminated, and it's almost like you just couldn't see it before, and maybe that's why you were kind of down in the dumps about it. I'm also getting the feeling of like being right under your nose, so it's almost like something that you kind of have been overlooking or missing. So maybe this could be someone who is already in your life, or like I mentioned, if you're in a relationship currently, it's almost like you're overlooking something or someone or some sort of potential in a relationship where all along this was kind of what it should be, but you just hadn't seen the light, I guess, is the sense I'm getting. All right, let's draw a card about the energy of this other suitor who's out there for you. Ooh, the Star. Okay, so I feel like this person really has star power in a sense, where I think that they're matching you equally, because I think you're also someone who has star power, where I felt like in the past, maybe the people around you, especially in romance, the people you were involved with almost dimmed your light a little bit. Maybe had this feeling of like they didn't want you to get too big, or this feeling of not believing in you, not being able to elevate you as a star. But I feel like this next person who's coming in for you, it kind of feels like they believe in you in a different sense because they themselves believe in themselves. So it's this really high level of confidence between the two of you, confidence in your ability to have success in your endeavors, confidence in your ability to be a shining light in this world. And I feel like this confidence will bring a new confidence to your relationship as well, in the sense of like things will work out for us. Where like in the past, like if you'd been dealing with these adversarial relationships, there was always kind of this feeling of doubt or just not fully believing in things, because things hadn't been working out too well in the past, where it was almost like kind of fighting a losing battle is the sense that I was getting in your previous relationships. But I feel like this next one is really going to be this feeling of just like bliss in a sense, because that feeling of needing to fight or have conflict or not believe in the relationship is now gone. I feel like this next relationship is going to be one that you can feel really safe in and feel really secure in, where it almost feels like you don't have to worry about those things, about like, oh, are they going to leave me? Is there going to be some point of conflict that's going to break us apart? It's almost more like there's just this gentle, calm confidence in the fact that this is the way that things should be. All right, let's draw another card on this other suitor. Ooh, okay, we have the Six of Pentacles here. So I feel like this is someone who is very generous and very balanced as well, where it's not necessarily like... I think that they also do understand, though, that they need someone at their caliber, right? Like, there are two different tiers in this card. I feel like this person understands that in some ways, when it comes to romance, they need someone who is their equal. They need to have met their match in a sense. And so I feel like this person is someone who can recognize this quality in you as well, where it's not necessarily this feeling of, like, again, like competitiveness, like I mentioned, where they're so much like trying to figure out who is above the other person in this. I think because you have both met your match in this sense, or you both realize each other's star power, that there's this feeling of like mutual respect, of like understanding that there are people in the world who maybe just aren't right for you, and being able to see that and understand, like, giving you more conviction in the sense that you are right for each other because of the fact that you can acknowledge that there's people in the world who aren't right for you. And I also feel like this person is someone who might be generous, kind of in a financial sense as well, but not necessarily in the sense that they just give away all their money freely. It's not like they're just giving away money that they can't afford to give away. It's almost more like they are willing to believe in other people's star power, like I mentioned. So this could be someone who invests in emerging artists or emerging businesses, or, you know, there's someone who would maybe give their friend a loan to help them purchase some sort of equipment to work on a project. But they're not necessarily someone who's just going to, like, donate all their money to someone that they hardly know. It's more like, I think they're generous to the people who are close to them. All right, let's draw another card on this person. Ooh, the Queen of Swords. Okay, I feel like this person has this kind of maybe they're a little bit not quite an airhead, but maybe they have their head in the clouds a little bit, so to speak, where they almost have these really high ideals about the world, where it's almost like things that you might not think are achievable immediately, but it's almost wonderful that they have these ambitions. So I feel like when you meet this person, you're going to recognize them as someone very ambitious, as someone who is capable of making these higher level judgments when it comes to these greater plans that are maybe above what other people might consider. So I feel like you might almost be stunned by this person's star power and ambition, in a sense of almost feeling intimidated by them. And you might initially get that sort of feeling of like, oh, I'm not at this person's level, right? But I think because I mentioned you're releasing this feeling and understanding that you are equals, I feel like you'll be able to maybe you'll be the person who maybe reins in this person's ambition, in a sense, but not reining it in as like bringing it down, but like bringing it down to earth, in the sense that you're kind of grounding it and making it something that could be executed in reality. So I feel like this is something that plays off your energy as well. Is like, there could be someone who presents an idea and then you kind of help them to present it in a way that could be made into something literal. And I feel like it kind of works both ways as well, where maybe you have these ambitions that aren't fully realized or fully worked out, and this person could, with their sort of judgment and critical thinking, kind of slice through and be able to help you execute this in a way that's actually reasonable for you. And I think that this is the joy of a relationship, is the fact that someone sees you in a way that you don't quite see yourself, and in a way they almost see more about you than you can see about yourself. And when you're truly in love with someone, which is like the sense that I'm getting from this relationship that's coming in for you, it's like they see all your potential as well, and really have the sense of optimism and hope for you and encouragement, where it's like they could see what you could achieve in this life, where maybe if you had been holding yourself back a little bit, it's almost like you didn't see this possibility in yourself. But this new love is almost going to open up new possibilities in you because of the fact that this person sees all of you, and they're really meeting you at this deep level and being able to have conversations at this really deep level that you've been having with yourself in some ways, but it almost takes this slightly different perspective in order to turn these conversations into something that could be like practically useful to you. So I feel like this love opportunity is almost going to provide you with a sort of counterpart, in a sense, where it's not necessarily like someone who's disagreeing with you or trying to change your opinions or change your ideas or change what you're doing with your life path, but it's almost like it's shining a new light, right? Like if you maybe had an object and there was a light on one side, it's only illuminating half the object. But I feel like with this person's perspective, they're shining a light on the other side of things. So it kind of gives you a sense of the whole. And it's not necessarily that you're like less of a person because you haven't met this person or had this relationship yet. It's more just like there's things in your life that need to be illuminated by love. And I think that this is why this loving relationship is something that you find really important to you and something that you really want to seek out in your life, is because you know that there's something on your path that requires this deeper level of love in order for it to be fully realized or fully integrated into yourself, or maybe in your work. You're dealing with these themes of love, and you just know that you can't have a fuller understanding of these concepts without having experienced it yourself. All right, let's pull one more card. Okay, the moon. Ooh, okay, so I feel like there is this feeling of kinship between the two of you. It's this feeling of, like, something celestial, because we are getting the star and the moon coming out here. It's like looking up to the sky and maybe, like, seeing bigger things, of like seeing whole galaxies. So I feel like maybe both of you have this kind of romantic sense about the universe or your role in the world, and this higher ambition, like I mentioned, where... And I think that when you're together and then also contemplating nature and the expansiveness of the universe, it brings you something entirely new. Where, like with this card, there's the two pillars of rock in the back and there's the two dogs. It's almost like this duality or polarity between the two of you is helping you connect to this higher power in a sense, where it's almost like symbolically the fact that there are two of you brings something new to the dynamic. Where, like, on your own, like, certainly, yes, you are complete and whole in yourself, and if you're not in a relationship at this point in your journey, that's exactly where you need to be. But I also feel like there is some new symbolism to this doubling of selves, where, like, this person is kind of not, I wouldn't say your other half, but it's like, maybe more like a mirror image of you, but also like in the mirror image, right, things are different. Like everything is flipped the other way. So it's not like you're identical. It's not like you're the exact same person, but it's almost like these qualities are flipped in a sense. And just this being able to recognize the differences and similarities at the same time and sort of reconcile them, it's bringing you a new understanding to this whole situation, to the concept of love, to our human reality as like beings who can fall in love, or like maybe in the case of like some sort of reproduction. It's this standing for the symbols of maybe a masculine and feminine dynamic, and this is not necessarily talking about men and women, but like more like your energetic frequency is like the fact that there are two of you is very important to creating something new that you want to do with your life. Alright, well, I feel like that's a very optimistic reading, and I hope this helped you or gave you some reassurance and love. And thank you so much for watching as always, and I hope to see you in the next one.